What do you reckon, guys? Is this a season-saving 90 minutes, or is it no more than a victory?
Season-saving in what regard? And on the one hand, you fully expect Arsene Wenger to cling to this performance and results, as to making a case for himself, to stay on longer. But in fairness, on both ends of the park, if Arsenal had played like this, or anything like this, during the course of the season, for the period of the season, you expect them to be in the top four, or at the very least close to it, not kind of floundering as they have been. Both ends of the park, they were simply outstanding, keeping in mind that up front you're calling on Welbeck, making what is 14th or 15th start of the season. You've got no Lacazette, you've got no Aubameyang, and yet still you put in this performance. Somebody needs to offer some kind of an explanation as to why that is.
Well, that's the thing, Ali. The Jekyll and Hyde element to this team is just, it's enough to make Arsenal fans pull their hair out.
If you hadn't seen this team play before this year, you would have thought, my goodness, look at them. Efficient, effective, defending well, winning tackles in the midfield, utilizing the athleticism of Danny Welbeck in the attack. Mesut Ozil giving the balls that you know he's talented enough to provide. Mkhitaryan scoring goals. You're like, wait a minute. This is a different team altogether. And oh, by the way, I think AC Milan was expecting a different team as well, because they thought, wait a minute, this is not the Arsenal. This is not the Arsenal that has played throughout the course of the season. There was a different mentality to this group. Perhaps in an odd, weird way, it was a good thing that this game was away from London, was away from that sort of attention, and that you're not hanging on every 5-yard pass that you miss and the people get after you and start booing you. Because you know you can play at the San Siro, because you know that the fans are not going to get on top of you. And to be quite honest with you, you saw a freedom about this team that we haven't seen throughout the course of the season. This was excellent for Arsenal.
And in fairness to Arsenal here, these are no slouches of opponents.
12 games unbeaten.
This is not the AC Milan of 10 or 20 years ago.
No.
But this is an AC Milan who've found their feet under the Red Gattuso of late. I sat here and reeled off stats as to how good they've been over the last couple of months, yet still Arsenal put together a performance and make them look decidedly average.
Can they win this competition? And if they do, does it completely change the equation with one Arsene Wenger?
Yeah, like I said, every performance changes the equation. You see, if Arsenal play like this with consistency throughout the competition, they are a match for anybody. Saying all that, I still feel that the likes of Dortmund and Atletico Madrid, at their best, get the better of even this Arsenal. But if Arsenal can maintain this, maybe, just maybe.
So no. What you're saying is no.
Let's
go with no.
I'm saying maybe,
I'm
maybe.
I'm taking that as a maybe. Are you willing to go one more than a maybe?
No. No,
no advance on a maybe.
Because I cannot forget what they have done up until this point. Because this game on its own, yes, excellent. But we are here discussing Arsenal in the way that we are because of what they have been in the past as well. And we're talking about less than a week ago. They're losing to Brighton Hove Albion. So what? I mean, they're losing to Brighton. They're losing to Brighton. So yeah, against Atletico Madrid, no, I don't like their chances. Against Borussia Dortmund, I don't like their chances.
Now in La Liga, the Big Four sees Real Madrid travel to Eibar this weekend. Barcelona also on the road against Malaga, Valencia in Seville, and Atletico Madrid the lone Sunday game at home to Celta Vigo. Let's bring Sid Lowe into the conversation. Sid, it appeared last weekend's victory by Barcelona seems to have settled the league title. So where will your attention be focused and why this weekend?
Well, I think there's a number of games that are interesting. Obviously, one of them is Atletico Madrid against Celta because of whether Atletico are going to give themselves or at least maintain that half a chance they have of still competing for the league title, and also because Celta are fighting for a UEFA place at the end of the season. But the really, really big game this weekend is Sevilla against Valencia. Sevilla are currently 8 points behind Valencia. They're in 5th, Valencia in 4th place. So this is the week in which they go to Old Trafford, and yet they can't afford to ignore what's happening in La Liga. If you look at it in kind of dramatic terms from Sevilla's point of view, it could be over the next 5 days that they miss out on this year's Champions League and they miss out on next year's Champions League as well. They really need to avoid defeat against Valencia. Obviously, they could really, really do with a victory. So that, I think, is the biggest game of the weekend.
Yeah, it's always an attractive fixture, isn't it? Sevilla-Valencia at the Sanchez-Pizjuan alley.
So what's interesting to me, and I guess I'd like to ask Sid this, is that what would be the priority for Sevilla then? Because if you're gonna if you're going to choose something, I don't think Sevilla is good enough to have it both ways. So if you're going to choose something, what do you go after?
Sid?
Well, I mean, you know, the priority is the Champions League, but there is a belief, and you know, I think you're right that up to a point you're not quite good enough to take both, and you do have to make some sort of choices. But actually, I think Sevilla's mindset will be that you field your strongest possible team at the weekend, and you hope that that same strongest possible team is also available in Manchester in midweek. Now, what Sevilla have done again under Montella is they've improved enormously, but they've improved with almost the exact same starting 11 in virtually every game. There is a sense of a certain degree of fatigue. They did make some changes last weekend, but this weekend I think they won't. And as I say, I think they won't, and I think the intention will then be to play the same team against Valencia. The question mark will be whether or not they can do that, but they won't know that, of course, until Sunday morning or maybe even Monday.
Other than that, Ali, what's grabbing your attention?
It'd be interesting to see if there's an emotional letdown by Atletico Madrid, knowing that, as you mentioned earlier, that La Liga is just about over, that they had an opportunity, they missed on that opportunity. Do they just let go of La Liga altogether? And then it's also to see if there's an emotional letdown for Real Madrid after achieving such a high against PSG, that you still got to compete in La Liga, and that it's not easy to go to Eibar. Eibar has been playing well at home. That's a game that they have to take seriously as well.
And then, but you look at Valencia as well, a point behind Real Madrid in the table. They're not going to win the league. You feel they're going to finish in the Champions League spots, no question. But I think there's, you know, some reward to finishing above Real Madrid. Against a Sevilla team who, as Sid rightly mentioned, has a lot on their plate right now. I think it'll be an interesting weekend for them as well.
Well, let's welcome Sid Lowe to the show to reflect on that Real Madrid's Champions League success. Sid, I guess you could say nothing new. Real Madrid in the quarterfinals yet again for the Champions League, except it feels totally different this time around. I wonder what the reaction has been like in Madrid, given the sort of season they've been having up until about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Well, I think in a way the reaction has been that it doesn't feel different. The surprise is that it doesn't feel different because, as you say, given the way they've been playing domestically, given the results in La Liga, given the huge gap that Barcelona have at the top of the table, there was a sense that maybe it wouldn't go for them this time in the European Cup. There was a sense as well when they got Paris Saint-Germain that perhaps for the first time in a very, very long time they were going to go into a Champions League game and not be favourites, that there was a chance that they would be knocked out and be knocked out very, very early. But then when they went to Paris and when they won with the authority with which they won, I mean, the first leg was obviously slightly different, but the authority with which they won in Paris is a sense that, OK, here we go then, Real Madrid are to be taken very, very seriously. There's also a kind of a recurring theme here, which is that, bear in mind, until last year when Real Madrid won the League and European Cup double for the first time in 59 years, the previous 8 European Cups that Real Madrid had won had been in seasons when they didn't win the Spanish League title. So in other words, for Real Madrid to have a poor domestic season and yet go on and be the best team in Europe, or at least theoretically the best team in Europe, the winners of the Champions League / European Cup, that's not particularly unusual.
Does this change the discourse at the moment on Zinedine Zidane? Because there had been those questioning his long-term viability at the Bernabeu up until just a few weeks ago. Is that all changed now?
I think it has. I think it has in a number of ways, actually, not just in terms of his long-term viability, because I think there's always been a sense, and Zidane himself has fed this idea a little bit, that Real Madrid is a job that has a very, very high burnout factor, and that managers can quite quickly feel that their time has come, and obviously the club can quite quickly feel that managers' times have come, and they're very quick to pull the trigger. But I think there's another element, which is not just that this has bought Zidane time in that sense. I think that it's bought Zidane authority because, of course, he made changes to the team and it worked. And obviously at Real Madrid, one of the difficulties has often been that the managers don't have full authority when it comes to choosing the team. And the other thing I think it does is it has made people look at Zidane slightly differently, because there's always been a sense that, well, what Zidane does is he makes the players feel happy, he manages the egos, he manages the dressing room, but tactically there's not a huge amount there. That's been one of the accusations levelled at him, one which I think was actually possibly a little bit unfair anyway. But obviously what happened this time was, with the shift in the first leg to a 3-man midfield plus Isco, in other words, an extra body in there behind the 2 forwards, and then the shift in the second leg to a much more orthodox 4-4-2 with 2 wide men with Asensio and Lucas Vázquez behind Benzema and Cristiano Ronaldo, with having the nerve and a tactical awareness to leave out Gareth Bale, and for it to work and work so well. I think what that's done is it's won over some of those people who said, well, Zidane was a guy who just kind of put the players out there and made them feel good and looked after them. Now there's people saying, actually, he surprised us tactically as well, and he read this right in a way that, of course, by definition, Unai Emery didn't do. things change, obviously, over the course of a season. When Atletico Madrid were knocked out of the Champions League, their captain, Gabi, said that the Europa League looked rubbish to them. And the word he used was actually slightly stronger than rubbish. Diego Simeone, the coach, always says, and he'll never, ever tires of saying it, that the most important game is always the next one. And I actually think up to a point he's telling the truth, in the sense that I think what Atletico Madrid will do will be to play to the next game, but keep every game as their most important game. And I think until such a time at which they're forced to rest players, they're forced to prioritise, because at the moment there isn't actually an obligation to do that. They have a strong enough squad, they have good enough players, they have a good enough physical condition to keep the same team in all competitions. But I think at the point at which they have to prioritise, obviously we'll see where they are in the league, because if it opens up again and they're close to Barcelona, then maybe it shifts back to the league. But right now, if this 8-point lead that Barcelona have over them is maintained and they get into the later stages of this competition, then there's no doubt that priority will be Europe.
Well, let's have a look at the latest odds to win it. Not surprisingly, Atletico are the favourites according to 538. The SPI giving them a 32% chance to be the side to lift the trophy. Arsenal are actually second favourites according to that list. Lazio, Lyon and Red Bull Salzburg making up the rest of the top 5. You trust Atletico, don't you, when it comes to European competition? They've won this twice in recent history. They've reached 2 Champions League finals. If you're a betting man, you wouldn't bet against them, would you?
No, I wouldn't. And I wouldn't even look below Atletico Madrid. No. I think this is their tournament to win and their tournament to lose. It's about them and how they approach it. To me, Atletico Madrid is head and shoulders above everybody else in the competition.
Right now, you're hoping just that it draws kind to you and keeping you away from Atletico Madrid, and you hope that you can get the better of them in a one-off game. That somehow they have a bad day and you have a really good day, and that brings you the Champions League berth. But over 2 legs, no, I don't see anybody getting the better of Atletico.
Just pretty rare, Sid, to see competition odds this heavily tilted in favour of the favourites. But Atletico Madrid, the clear favourites, do they deserve to be?
I mean, I agree. I think they are the strongest team in the competition. Obviously, I say that as someone who watches a lot of Spanish football and not a huge amount of football from other countries, so I can't give it kind of a really in-depth analysis of the other teams in the competition. But Atletico Madrid getting knocked out of the Champions League was partly freak occurrence, partly the fact that they hadn't quite found their feet yet. Of course, it was the 2 games against Qarabag that completely destroyed them. The fact as well that they went away to Rome and weren't able to score, and they really should have done. They wasted loads and loads of chances. And of course, this was always a season in which the idea would be get to Christmas within touching distance of whether it's the league title or in particular the Champions League, because you get to the knockout stages and there was a belief they would have a chance in the Champions League. The problem was, of course, that the first part of that plan broke down. So if we're looking at a team that we thought, you know what, if it had got to the Champions League knockout stages, they could have won it. Well, then when it gets to the Europa League knockout stages, then of course they've got to be favourites. I think it's entirely justified that they are. The question mark will be whether or not they can carry the weight of the game in those games when they have to attack, when they can't play, at least partly conditioned by the nature of the other team.
Let's focus on the 2 teams last night, Toronto and Seattle. Which one of those 2 teams is best placed, do you think, now to advance?
You know what? Best place, I still think it has to be Seattle, even though Toronto really impressed me. The way they took it to the defending Liga MX champions at home. Let's be honest, the conditions weren't ideal. The pitch was terrible. But the way that Toronto was able to press and at times dominate and dictate that game against a team with the stars that they have, like Tigres, it was really promising. But that away goal could prove to loom large. Back at El Volcán in Monterrey, now you're going to have Gignac, who's going to start. You're going to have a Jurgen Damm, who's probably going to come down the right-hand side, a more energized and revitalized Tigres side with everything to play for. It's going to be very difficult for Toronto, so I would have to say Seattle, based off more than anything, Chivas' poor form. They're about 15th in league play. They don't have any punch. They lack that killer instinct in front of goal. Seattle missed a lot themselves, but that 1-0, I think, is a good advantage.
Crucially, they didn't concede, Ali. Is that going to make the difference in the end?
I think it makes all the difference in the world for Seattle. And I think as impressive as Toronto was, the fact that they allow that away goal, it puts them at a disadvantage now, where they themselves, if Tigres is able to get ahead, they themselves have to score a goal. And so, look, Tigres is the team that everybody fears in this competition, and rightfully so, because of the talent that they have on paper. However, Toronto outplayed Tigres last night. It's now a matter of whether you can do that in Mexico, and that's where it gets uncomfortable. That's where it gets difficult, and that's why you look at the New York Red Bulls and their performance in Tijuana. That is perhaps the most impressive performance of all of MLS teams, because they went to Tijuana, They got the result. They won away, and that's the team that, to me, right now seems to have the best chance to go to the finals.
One little wrinkle, Tigres play Tijuana, don't they, this weekend?
Yes.
Toronto able to rest. They don't have a game. So.
Toronto and Seattle able to rest. They don't have a game. These are advantages that the league is affording these teams because they're trying to take CONCACAF Champions League seriously. But if you look at, you talked about the New York display, that was a team that held on and won 2-0. You said Toronto at times dominated and gave up that road goal. It goes to show you how dangerous Tigres is.
Clean sweep for the MLS teams? You prepared to say it, Shaka, just
No.
briefly? No, not prepared.
History suggests otherwise.
It does, doesn't it?
I make silly bets, everybody, but no, not a clean sweep on the air.
It's time for some more Premier League predictor, and you know it's the competition when Shaka Hislop is here because he's a feisty little competitor. Shaka, let's start things off with this first juicy fixture. We really should save this for last, but it's the first game to kick off the weekend. Man United, Liverpool.
Okay, let's get my shocks out of the way. I'm going to go for Manchester United.
I don't think that's a massive shock.
It's a shock that I'm picking Manchester United. I think Jose Mourinho is going to set up pragmatically as he always does and then grab a late winner. Yeah.
You know what? For that reason, I don't think it's going to be pretty, but I'm going to go with Manchester United on this one. Ooh, if only Liverpool come back to haunt our decision. Everton, Brighton.
Yeah, Sam Allardyce under a lot of pressure up at Goodison Park.
Brighton with big
Brighton
results.
doing really well, but still, I just think Sam gets the better of Brighton at home.
I want to say that as well, but you know what? I'm going to go for a draw on this one.
All right.
I'm going to sit on the fence. I know you love that fence. Huddersfield, Swansea.
A much improved Swansea, I have to say. Huddersfield, desperate for a result. I'm going to sit on the fence with this one. I'm going to say it's a draw. I just don't see Swansea losing.
I don't see Swansea losing, but I do see them winning in this one. Or maybe I'd like to see them win in this one. So I'm going to go with the Swans for this. Newcastle, Southampton, Shaka Hislop, of course.
Don't let me down. Right.
It's more like a wish and hope and praying kind of thing.
No. Newcastle going to win.
Yeah, I think Newcastle are
Yeah,
going to
see?
pull this one off again. Sorry, Southampton. We know the troubles there. West Brom, Leicester City. Oh, yes, West Brom. Toiling and struggling. Leicester definitely should
Just
be
can't get a result.
too much for them.
Any
They
kind of
can't get a
result.
And they really need a result, don't they? Here we go again with one of your other former clubs that this is probably a wishing, hoping, praying kind of result you're hoping for. West Ham against Burnley.
Yeah. This one is a wishing, hoping. Listen, I love what Dyche is doing up at Burnley. This is not going to be easy. But yes, I am wishing, hoping, praying with West Ham.
No wishing, hoping, praying here, Shaka. We're going to go with Burnley for this one.
We need all the wishes, hopes, and
I
prayers
give
we
you
can get.
Newcastle. Choose your teams. How many teams do you have?
2.
Chelsea, Crystal Palace. Chelsea needing something too.
Yeah, Chelsea needing a whole lot.
Yeah.
And Crystal Palace, good performance against Manchester United.
Ended in heartbreak though.
It did, but still, a lot to be proud of, but still, at Stamford Bridge, surely Chelsea. Come on.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions surrounding Chelsea, but I'm assuming that they can definitely take care of Palace at Stamford Bridge. Arsenal, Watford. Speaking of needing something, or a whole lot of something.
I'm going to sit on the fence, you know.
Whoa, Shaka.
I'm going to go for a draw here. Yeah, I am.
Oh, I don't know what that would spell for Arsene Wenger. And I love me some Wenger, so I'm going to go for a result
Nothing's going to change.
for Arsenal. Nothing is going to change.
It doesn't matter
there.
what happens to Arsenal between now and the end of the season. He's going to be there till the summer, at the very least.
He is invincible, that man. Bournemouth, Spurs.
I expect a little bit of a
Battle.
hangover for Spurs
Ooh.
after going out. I am going to go for Bournemouth.
Shaka Hislop.
Yep.
Heartbreak at Wembley for Spurs, so I'm going to go with the fact that they're away from home this weekend, and I think they should be able to get it together. I mean, now that some pressure is off, but they're still crying, might still be hungover, but I'm going to go with Spurs.
And you never bet against City.
Oh, really?
Never.
Maybe I should go for the upset.
What?
Nah, Shaka, I can't be.
You had to think long
I
and
can't
hard
be
about
that daft. I don't.
you
Hard to
can.
choose against Manchester
You can't be
City
that
these
daft.
days in any competition. Thanks so much to Shaka Hislop. Track everything from the Premier League action this weekend here at ESPNFC.com. Arguably, the biggest rivalry in English football is set to take center stage this weekend as Manchester United face Liverpool in the Premier League. Shaka Hislop is here with me. We're going to see which teams we think come out on top in these categories. Shaka, let's start off with the manager.
This might surprise a few. I'm actually going to go with Jose Mourinho, who you know I've been very critical of adjusting in terms of setting a team up for a result. Mourinho just edges Klopp.
It won't be pretty, but he'll get the result. Well, this might surprise you as well. I'm going with Jurgen Klopp. Now, we know that Jurgen Klopp is one for the football romantics, and that's me. So I'm going to go with him because he just seems like one of the team. Like, the team is playing for him. Jose, not so much. And we know it isn't pretty football. He does know how to get a result, but I'm going to go with Klopp on this one, the rock star. Goalkeeper.
No surprise here. Let's be honest. You could have Karius and Mignolet in goal at the same time, and I'd still choose De Gea.
No arguments there, Shaka. David De Gea, possibly the only constant in Manchester United's team. Best player when he walks out there and best player when he walks off. Defense now.
Again, I might surprise a few. I'm going to go with Liverpool. I don't think there's a whole lot between the two. Hold on, let me explain. Since his turn of the year, Manchester United have been marginally better in terms of goals conceded. Since Van Dijk made his debut, Liverpool have been marginally better. There's not a lot to get between the two defenses, and I think that is easily explained by De Gea.
Yeah.
So I think Liverpool, as a defense, as a unit, not including the goalkeeper, gets a nod.
See, I agree with you. It was definitely hard to pick this one, but I'm going to go with Manchester United on this one, Shaka. Liverpool conceded 10 more than United this season, Shaka. That has to factor for something. I know what you're saying.
That's over the course of the season.
Over the course of the season.
Over the last 20 games, Liverpool have conceded less in the league.
But I still pick Jose Mourinho to choose a backline better than Jurgen Klopp will.
Right now, Liverpool's defense is better.
All
That's
right,
all
well,
I'm
agree
saying.
to disagree, Shaka. What about midfield?
Midfield. I think United have a better midfield than Liverpool. I will say they aren't playing anywhere near as good as they should be, but I still will choose United's midfield over Liverpool.
See, I agree with you there, but you know what? I'm going with Liverpool because I feel like in United's midfield, they should be playing better than they are right now. I feel like there's no real world-class name, save for a Paul Pogba, but we have been discussing this, whether it's his attitude that's not bringing out the best of him. Is it Jose not bringing out the best of him, or is he just being played out of position? So for that, I feel like Liverpool are more of a better unit together.
Here's the thing,
Together.
though. Here's the thing. Liverpool's
I don't remember
midfield,
asking for an argument.
Liverpool's midfield don't have to be as good because of Liverpool's attack.
Okay.
Liverpool's attack have been so good that their midfield can be...
Slack off a little.
Yeah, they can have an off day and nobody will notice. Which is why I go for United in midfield. No question, Liverpool in attack, though.
You want to guess who I chose for attack?
I
cannot be that blind. Liverpool going forward.
I was a little bit concerned.
The dream. I mean, everyone's scoring really and truly for Liverpool, whether they should be out-and-out strikers or not. And I have to go with Liverpool for that one. All right,
so where midfield,
we disagree on a lot.
defense, and manager.
We can only agree on David De Gea.
And the attack.
And the attack, because we're not that blind. Great minds sometimes think alike. Thanks so much to Shaka Hissap. We'll see which of the two teams comes out on top this Saturday.